So I didn't share the session that we had last week. I'm doing a few editing to it. And then I'll be able to share it by tomorrow. So last week we covered the overview of what agripreneurship training is. Today we'll do a bit of a focus on the climate smart agriculture. I can hear some feedback. If someone wants to ask or you want to give feedback. Okay, so I can continue. So welcome. I can see there is Dr. Banda, there is Jonathan, and there is Sadfianyi. So welcome to this session, and feel free to chime in, ask questions at any point. So like I was saying is that last week we had an overview of what agripreneurship training is. And then this week we'll be able to dive in on climate smart agriculture as a module. And then I'll also share the agribusiness plan and some of the key things that you need to take into account when you are developing a business plan, or what we are calling an agribusiness plan. So unless there are questions, otherwise I'll start. I'm recording this session, so I'll be able to share after the session. And like I said, feel free to raise up your hand or just to unmute yourself and ask any question at any point. So like I said, Innovation Training Institute is a subsidiary of Better World Innovation. And it's the one that has the mandate in terms of training or capacity building of farmers or those that are prospecting to go into farming. So I said this is a 6 weeks flagship training, and we will tackle module by module. So I'll try to give as much information. But what you have to bear in mind that this is a summary of the actual training. The actual training is more detailed. So today we will focus on one of the 6 modules. Like I shared last time that it has got 6 modules, which is the smart agriculture, the value chain addition, supply chain and logistics. And then also we look at the actual development of an agribusiness plan. And then we also focus at agri-financing. And then the last module is where we do the field practicals or the project. So a student is given a time to do a project, which is part of their CA in terms of certification. So this is a course that is certified. So that's where we do the practicals. So those are the six modules that are involved in this course. But today we are going to focus on the smart agriculture module. And then I'll also I'll fast forward to module 4 and share the business plan. So climate smart agriculture is a new concept. It is a concept that is sponsored by mostly the World Bank, the Food and Agriculture Organization, which is a wing of the United Nations. And 2 days ago, we had a meeting where most of the stakeholders are feeling that this is a concept that most of the farmers are not aware of, but also don't understand because it's a bit complex. But also there are a lot of tools that you can access online on this. So we'll just try to zoom in this module. So in this module, there's an introduction part of it. And then we talk about what is modern farming techniques. So in the modern farming techniques, That's where you'll find the smart urban agriculture, where you can use a very small area within your yard or the backyard to do to grow food. And we are recording a lot of successes in some countries, even in some areas of Africa, where people are using smart urban agriculture, using very smart techniques to grow like potatoes, onions, or vegetables. So you don't need a very big land to do the smart urban agriculture. This is why it's called smart urban, because it can be done even in towns. So those are some of the techniques that we will discuss under that. And then we also look at soil fertility, and then how would you choose also which cash crop to grow when we are in which region. So that is mostly influenced by the type of soil, influenced by the other ecological variables like the type of lens that is received in that, the terrains of that place, and a lot of other things that you need to consider. So we look at that in details, and that I'll not discuss it in this session. I'll leave it in the full-time course. And then also we look at what are some of the smart irrigation techniques. So most of you have heard about the solar system irrigation, the solar pump irrigation systems, where even people in the rural areas that are off-grid are able to use solar to pump water for their agriculture activities, and they're able to conduct agriculture activities throughout the year. So they don't have to wait for the rains. Like we are saying now, the focus is agribusiness, and agribusiness simply means that you are taking agriculture as a business. So you don't want only to be waiting for the rain season. So in this topic, we look at what are some of the irrigation techniques. So we look at the solar pump equipment, we look at water harvesting, we look at water management for a large community. So we look at a number of things that can be involved. So when you are going into agriculture, either you are going to go into crop or you are going to go into animal, you need to have access to water. Without that, agriculture becomes very difficult. And then the other topic also that we focus on is the protected crop farming, which is simply a greenhouse. So in the past, the greenhouse or greenhouse farming was very expensive. But in recent years, with new technology, people coming on the market, especially from China, there are a lot of greenhouse options that are there on the market, and some of them can even be constructed in a small area, like in urban areas. So we'll also look at this, and we'll look at things like hydroponics. I'm sure you have heard about hydroponics, where we have got vertical hydroponics, we have got horizontal hydroponics. So this is where you grow your crops just in the water culture. So you have got a culture that has already been prepared. You don't need soil, and then you grow your crops there. As well, I'll be sharing later on the 15 agribusinesses that have been researched on and that are viable. You'll see one of it is where you can use the hydroponics in terms of farming it, and people are making a lot of money, including like if you go into the Western world where cannabis has been legalized, including Zambia. If you apply and you're given a license, you can also do cannabis, and people are using hydroponics to grow cannabis, and cannabis is one of the top 5 cash crop in the world, which can give you a lot of money as long as you get all the legal requirements in that specific country where you are. And in the case of Zambia, you need to apply and get that license. So protected farming essentially is a farming approach that is used for those crops that are sensitive, where you need to control the conditions within that greenhouse in terms of the sunlight, in terms of the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. You want to control a number of other factors like the nutrients. So that's where you use the protected farming approach. And mostly you use this one in those high yield cash crops where you can make a lot of money, because the investment in a greenhouse itself is very expensive. So last week I talked about the 15 potential agribusiness ideas, and these I will share them as a bonus. But some of the things that we'll also talk about is the market assessment and settings. And then also you look at the hygiene of crop hygiene. It might be animal hygiene, sanitation, and food safety. So these are some of the things that we really don't focus on, most of us that are engaging into farming. But if you want to go into commercial farming, you need to take into account all these things like hygiene, sanitation, and food safety. Of course, disease control and pest control, those are key things, and you need to have a disease and pest control management plan in place. It's one of the components that gets a lot of money also as you are going into agribusiness. Then we are talking about value chain addition. Of course, we talked about that last week. So this is where we don't want to sell our crops as low as they are, but we want to add value to them before we can sell them, so that we can maximize on our profits. And of course, it is promoted that we also follow the good agriculture practices, where we don't overuse chemicals, or we don't inject our animals, especially those that are engaged in broiler chicken, where we have heard the stories of people injecting these chickens with a lot of chemicals, and those chemicals can affect human beings. So we, as farmers, we are also employed to follow the good agriculture practices. So there we also talk about those, what are some of the good agriculture practices as we are engaging into farming, especially if you are going to go into export-oriented farming. Most of the countries are very sensitive if you are following the good agriculture practices, and they'll make sure that you follow those. And if you don't follow those, then you can't export to those countries. So last week, I gave a background of what entrepreneurship is. Like I said, it has no single definition. In terms of agripreneurship, the only difference is that here we are focusing on agribusiness. So it's the same type of activities, the same type of financial risk taking, the same type of commitment, consistency, innovations, and setting up or selling products or services with a focus into agriculture products. So agripreneurship is also a new term that is coming out on the market, and the focus is that this is a business that is really focusing on agribusiness. So you are focusing on agriculture, and the entrepreneurship can be general. People can go into other sectors, but for agripreneurship, we are focusing on the agribusiness. So the question is, what is smart agriculture, or what we are calling climate smart agriculture? So climate smart agriculture is an approach that focuses at transforming and reorienting our agriculture development in terms of responding to the realities of climate change. So this is an integrated approach to agriculture, where you are looking at having a resilient agriculture system, and that system is responding to the new realities of climate change. So the most common definition that is given by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations is climate smart agriculture is a sustainable, it's a sustainable increase in terms of productivities, enhancing resilience, adaptation, and also reducing or completely removing the greenhouse gases. So we know that agriculture is one of the contributors of greenhouse gases that are causing global warming. And then that has also, global warming is causing what we are calling the climate change. So we are talking about agriculture that is increasing food production. At the same time, the food systems are resilient, and we are able to reduce in terms of emission of greenhouse gases. And so we are able to mitigate. So at the end of the day, what we want to achieve is national food security and our development goals. We know that when we have food security, then other developmental goals also can be achieved. So climate smart agriculture, like I said, it's a new term that has come, and also it's a new concept. What we have to bear in mind is the take-home message is that we are just looking at a process that is increasing food production, that is resilient to the effect of climate change. So the take-home message in terms of climate smart agriculture is that we are looking at a resilient food system, and we are looking at a food system that can adapt to climate stresses and shocks. So climate stresses and shocks, we're talking about droughts, we're talking about prolonged rains, we are talking about unpredicted rain patterns, we're talking about floods. So as we go forward, as a nation or the global, we need to adapt to these climate smart practices and techniques for us to be able to withstand those climate stresses and shocks, which I've mentioned, that we are talking about droughts, we are talking about floods, we are talking about unpredictable rain patterns. It's all about that. So that is the type of agriculture that will be able to survive. So if you are a business, you are venturing into agribusiness, you need to bear in mind that at the end of the day, you need to have a food system that will be resilient to all these shocks that I'm mentioning, if you are going to still remain in that business. So we are talking about a sustainable agribusiness, and where you can recoup your investment and make a profit. Otherwise, if you are going to be in the traditional agriculture approach that we are using in Africa and most of African countries, you won't make a lot of profit, and also your business won't be sustainable. So those are the take-home messages. Yeah, so do we have any questions so far? Any questions, any contributions? Yes, Matthias Msonde, you can go ahead. I've seen you have raised your hand up. You can unmute yourself and go ahead to ask. So we can't get you. Maybe you are still muted, but feel free to chime in if you are able to. So if there are no questions, I will go to the business plan. So I'll stop sharing just for a few minutes, then okay, so we are remaining with 10 minutes. Once we are kicked out, what you just need to do is just rejoin the meeting. Yes, I was getting some feedback. Someone was talking. Okay, so we are saying it's clear. We can. Okay, so I will share the business plan. Okay, so are we able to see this business plan once again? Okay, so from my end, it seems we can see it. So this is a sample of a business plan. Basically, it has a cover just like any other business plan. So I will share the critical things. So in a business plan, you just want to give people basic information. So your profile as an organization, and what type of legislation do you have? Because if you are being funded by a bank or by an investor or someone that wants to invest in your business, they will need those details. So I'll just share on the key areas. Hopefully we are able to see. Are we able to see? Or the fonts are too small?
I think on my side, I'm able to see, because the good thing also, you can enlarge it.
Yes, we are able to see.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So basically it is just as the introduction. And in the introduction, you want to focus at what is your goal as a business. So for example, this business plan is targeting to produce 200,000 of 1.5 kg weight of catfish annually. So this is a business plan about catfish. And so it will focus on the production of catfish, which will be sold at the minimum of 1.5 kg. So it has the target, this is the annual target. And for you to produce this, you need fingerlings of about 200,000 plus, because there are also some mortality rates. So you are going to understand as you go into the catfish training that you also need to manage the mortality rates. So some catfish will die out. So you need to have fingerlings that are above what you are targeting to produce. And this is like the quarterly target. So every quarter, this is the stocking target, and then this is the annual target. So basically, it starts with like a business analysis. So you need to understand if you are going into fish, it might be tilapia, it might be catfish, or you are going into a specific venture. Maybe it's a specific crop, for example, maize, it might be soybeans, it might be cashew nut, it might be sweet beans, or whatever you want to venture into. You need to do a market analysis. You need to know what are the gaps in terms of the market. So in terms of diet, we know that fish account for about 40% in terms of protein consumption annually. So this is what the market analysis is just trying to bring out. And currently, we have seen an increase in terms of aquaculture production in the country, where we are producing about 22,000 metric tons of fish annually. And this research was done in 2015. We don't have like the latest. So just the World Bank report is mentioning that we are producing about 95,000 metric tons of fish, where our annual consumption stands at 140,000 metric tons. So we have a deficit of about 45,000 metric tons of fish. And this, you can find it in the 7th National Development Plan in terms of data. So this basically is talking about Zambia as a country, because this plan is being implemented in Zambia. But if you are in a different country and your domestic market is going to be that specific country, it means you need to bring out information from that specific country. Then this business plan also looks at the SADC market, which is called a regional market. So we are looking at the SADC market and the COMESA market combined. So we are talking about a number of countries here, and it has brought about information. For example, the SADC region is exporting fish worth about 1.5 billion to Europe. And most of this fish, it's coming from the sea. So this is a sea fish. So what the plan is trying to bring out is that there is also potential from the SADC of us exporting a fish to Europe. And in 2001 to date, over 1.5 billion has been made just by exporting a fish. So for example, currently, so this business plan is focusing at Zambia, Zimbabwe, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So this is the focus. So for example, currently Zimbabwe is producing about 18,400 tons of fish annually. So they are so not much active in terms of fish production, while their national demand consumption is about 6,000 tons of fish. So they also have got a deficit in terms of the fish that they're supposed to have annually. Botswana is about 300 tons per year of fish. So these produce very low. Have got a very low production of fish in terms of the SADC countries. In terms of consumptions, their consumption is about 4,000 tons per year, and about 12 million worth of fish is imported annually. So it's the same scenario like in Zambia, where we are importing over 40,000 metric tons of fish, and most of it is coming from China. So a lot of money is being spent in Zambia and as well as Botswana, Zimbabwe. So in terms of the Democratic Republic of Congo, their aquaculture production is standing at 3,000 metric tons. This was in 2011. And according to the World Food and Agriculture Organization, FishStat data that was conducted in 2009, the Congo DR officially imported about 57,800 metric ton of fish that was valued about 51 million US dollars. So you can see that this figure in terms of Congo, it doesn't not include the fish that is just imported in the country legally. We know that there is a lot of undocumented importation going into Congo. So this is what they were just able to document. So this business plan, like I said, it's targeting to produce about 200 to 500 tons of fish that will be sold. So these are the value chain that the plan is focusing to sell. So it is fillet, smoked fish, and as well as fish meal. So the strategy is just targeting 4 countries, because you need to understand your market, like I've said. So targeting Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and as well as Congo, which has a deficit of 200,000 metric tons of fish. So this country all combined together, they have a deficit of 200,000 metric tons of fish. So we are talking about 200 million